Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're going to discuss the Safar Academy publications, and in particular this section will be on our Tajweed series, which is to do with our Qaida, our Juz' Amma, and also our Tajweed. And I'll be speaking about these and the system that we placed. We have been running our own institution for over 15 years now, and we have worked with a number of different books and so on, and eventually we started to get our own publications for a reason. When we first started to teach the very elementary qaida, we used the Ahsanul Qawaid out there, but we found that there's certain deficiencies inside there. For example, the Ahsanul Qawaid will have the full letters well explained, but then the half letters, it doesn't have much of a good section on that. So we started to use the Nadia Qaida to try and make up for this, but then we found deficiencies in that one. We had to use between the two Qaidas, we tried to get our learning done. But later on we came across the Nurani Qaida or some other Qaida that has got some other good feature in. Eventually, in 2004, I decided that we're going to take a number of the major Qaidas in the world, and we're going to analyze them. Then we're going to do further research and work on the different calligraphic paths to the Quran and the letters that appear, and to get all of them incorporated in one book. And this is the book in front of you. So we worked with about 9 different qaidas, and we then put them together. We first actually did put them together in typeset that was done by a computer. We found that a lot of the calligraphic styles of the Quran are not actually appearing with the computer version. That's why we then switched to getting it handwritten from Bangladesh. I went there myself, got it handwritten. So this was one of our early publications. Then we found that we need to work further on this, and what we've done then is the actual the 13-line Quran that we've got, which is the Taj Company Quran. We've taken high scanned images of that Quran, and we've used it for all of these publications, so that it is not only well visible, it's also something that is accurate from the actual Quran itself, and the calligraphy styles, the different styles have all been incorporated into this one book. This is the first book that the students will cover, and in this we've got 13 different levels, and from here onwards they can move onto the Juz' Amma, or they can move straight onto the Tajweed publication, and this starts from level 14 all the way to level 20, and I'll be explaining all that in this session. So first, what a student will do is we focus on the actual pronunciation itself of the letters, and we actually try and get the best pronunciation we can. Most of Tajweed is going to be done, or half of Tajweed will be done in this book itself. So this is not to be seen as just a qaida, but to get every single letter pronunciation done properly, especially ha, or to get ha, or va, or qaf, or ghain, vad. These different letters, to get them pronounced properly, is for the teacher to do. Now, just before I move on, what I want to say is that we've got limited copies of this publication, which was before the green one that I'm holding in front of you, and it's got a teacher's manual to it. So this will explain all the different paths to how to teach this book. We've got limited editions to this, but what we're going to do is we're going to separate all the information in this book into a further publication, which will tell the teachers exactly how they should teach this. So here, just to give an example, on the actual alif to ya itself, all the common mistakes that they might make, the students might make, and how to overcome these problems will be found in this publication. So it's got 2 sides to this. One is got the entire qaida in this, and it's also got the teacher's manual to this. We've kept most of the important information that the student needs throughout these levels in this book, and inshallah we will have a further publication that will explain all the different parts for the teachers to actually focus on in how to teach this book. So they would have covered the makharij and the pronunciation in this, and there's some recognition of the letters. In each section we've quoted a hadith, a authentic or a hadith with a good chain, for students to read, to be motivated, for teachers to actually find as a means of motivation, for parents to also use this for motivating the students to read the Quran or read the parts of the Qaida. This follows on with the Tajweed book, which will have further ahadith in there. So now that they've done their full letters, they will then move on to the mixed letters. And what you will see here is you will see a diagram on this page here that will show them all the different letters in the beginning, middle and end, and how they appear. On this section here, they will then practice on those letters further, and they will then see, one of the unique things about this qaida is every single word from these 2-letter words are all from the Quran. There is no word in this qaida that is outside of the Quran, which some qaidas have, and it's quite annoying because it's not actually Arabic, nor is it from the Quran. On this section you can see the alif to ya appearing with the different beginning, middle, end letters, but each of them comes with the example from the Quran straight away. Again, you don't have to cover all these with the students, but if you want to, it's a very good comprehensive way of them understanding the different letters. And so far what we're doing is we're doing the basic letters. So we have another hadith at the end of the level. At each of the end of the level, when they come to a new level, they have to tick off what they actually have done so far. Without them being able to tick this off, it means that the learning wasn't complete for the last session. And then the target will be set out. So for this section, it says, so far I can pronounce each letter correctly. So far I can recognize the letter as soon as I see it. And that's the 2 learning objectives that should have been completed by this stage. And it says by the end of this level, I should be able to spell a whole word quickly. Now, spelling those whole words quickly, they need to now say ta, mim, shin, alif, ha, lam, ta, kha, fa, and so on. Say them quickly as they go along. Again, we've started from 3-letter words, building up to 4-letter words, all from the Quran, 5-letter words, 6-letter words, 7-letter words, and it goes all the way to 10-letter words on the next page. Again, another hadith, and then they will move on to a new level. The target here is again to spell it quickly, but there's a difference here. What they're doing here is they're going to now learn the different calligraphy that appears in the Quran. So for example, you've got ta here that appears as a ta marbuta, and that with the examples from the Quran, kaf appears in different styles. The tha that will appear in one style here, and there will be further coming all the dotted ones, so ba, ta, tha, noon, ya, all the different dotted styles appearing. And then you have the ya that appears with dots, without the dots, the ya that appears with a sort of a line at the bottom. The ra, za, different styles of writing. The meme that has many different styles that appear. Then we come to further styles of meme. The hamza that comes on top, comes below. The ha that joins from, or something joins from behind it, or something that joins from on top of it. The ha, the ha, again, look at this dotted section. The ba, the section that joins from the top, how it's joined, the tha joins from the top in thajjaja or in taht and so on. So they will learn all these different styles. Again, there's no qaida out there that focuses on so much detail of the different styles that appear in the Quran. Now again, look at this section, again with the dotted sections, the noon or the ta, ba, ya that join from the top in, for example, aba or adna, the word adna. So the student obviously will just say alif, dal, nun, ya, but the styles have all been incorporated in this for them to know that this is also another way of spotting these different letters. The ghains, the ains, and so on, the different styles. And then we move on to the lam that actually looks like a ra, which appears in the word lihaqqin or lihubbin, and you got the different style of the ha and the ta, unique styles, again appearing in the Quran, in the Taj Company Quran. And we've got some diagrams here that show them how they will recognize the different joining combinations. So there's a construction and a deconstruction that takes place in each of these, and it helps to try and explain to them how the letters are actually joined. Once they've done that, they will then move on to exercises of those sections of the different calligraphy styles of letters and so on, and we've incorporated all of them in different combinations so that they can get used to all of this. Once they've done that, we will have a section on the difference of lam and alif, and we'll have a section on how the kaf joins onto the lam, just to show them the combinations. They will have practice on that. But on lam and alif, the differentiation between the two, again, you don't have any qaida that focuses on just this, but we've put the different words from the Quran with plenty of alifs and lams in there for them to differentiate between the two. We have here an identity map again that we have created ourselves with all the different letters that appear so far, and this would be comprehensive with the entire Quran. So all these letters that appear here with all the different memes and the has and the noons and so on, different types of kafs, different types of dotted ones, for example, baz. You can see how many different sections, how many different styles you've got of them appearing, and this is an advanced identity map. Some further practice here for them to do, and only necessary if they really need some of this, and then they will have another hadith before they move on to a new level, and here in level 5 they will move on to haraka. Now in haraka, what they will do is, in normal qaidas they will only have 5 different lines here. What we've done is we've extended the lines, and we've got up to 9 different lines of exercises, again all appearing from the Quran. And here what we do at Safar Academy is something unique. We've done this for 15 years, and we've never needed to have reverted to the old style of spelling these letters out with the haraka. So instead of saying alif fatha a, or alif, some use zabar zair pesh, but some use fatha kasra dhamma. We use fatha dhamma kasra, but instead of saying alif fatha a, mim fatha ma, ra fatha ra, amara, instead of saying that, we actually get the students to say amara, balagha, jama'a, hasada, and so on. Now what this does is it actually saves you 50% of a loss of time that you would have, because they just learn how to do them straight up. Now there are many things, this is not a section to show you how to teach this, that will be done in a separate video. But what this video is about is to show you what has actually gone in this. Now one thing I want to show you here is at the bottom there you've got a whole diary. So Monday to Sunday you've got the parents' initials to put in there. So they will put Monday, for example, they did 30 minutes of practice, or Tuesday they did this much, and so on. There's 2 weeks of time that can be placed here. The parents' initials go there. If the maktab wants to put a stamp there, they can, or they can just put their initials inside there. And there's a start date, a pass date that they will put. So when was this page started? When did this page finish? And at the side here you can see these ticks which show that if you put a half a tick, it means that that line, up to that line, has been set. If you put a full tick, it means that it's been passed to that line. You can even put a date there or certain comments there. And one very unique thing which has been done is this section here at the bottom here, where you've got the yas'a sign and you've got the mistake key. So to explain this now, you've got a whole mistake key. So you've got S, L, F, P, H, J. So what does this all mean? This means that if a teacher wants to actually make a comment on any of these words as they're doing their words, they will make the comment, and they will actually write in there. They will put a line there, and they will put an S, or they will put a P or something. Let me just show you in the beginning. It's all explained in there how this whole section is done. So if I show you this section here, you'll see quite clearly here in this section, you can see here a line has been made and an S had been marked there. Why that is? Because there's a stretch mistake that the student should have, shouldn't have stretched, or he should have stretched, which he didn't. Whichever way, there's an S there to show that mark has been made. Now this whole thing appears here for you to explain, for us to explain to yourselves how to use it. So wherever there will be, for example, an S, it will be to do with stretch mistake. So they should have stretched it and they didn't, or they shouldn't have stretched it and they did. Either way, an S will be marked there. So the student understands what kind of mistake they've made, the parent knows exactly what kind of mistake was made, and the teacher has a reference to go back to see what types of mistakes have been made. If you have an L, it means that they said the wrong letter. So they recognize the wrong letter. So in the case of the first one, if they were reading this word, they would have said yes instead of yes. They would have missed out the stretching. In the case of the second one, they said the wrong letter, so they would have said yes gha or something, read it as a ghain instead of an ain. In the case of F, if that's marked, it means that there's a fluency problem, so they would have probably said yes and paused in between somewhere. In the case of a J, that means that there was a joining mistake, so they didn't join the letter properly, so they would have said yes or something and not joined it correctly. If there's a H there, it means that it's a haraka mistake. They would have probably said yus'a or something. If there's a P there, that P would refer to pronunciation mistake. So they would have said yes instead of yes and they wouldn't have pronounced the ayn properly. Now what this does is, this mistake key, just having 6 different parts to this has made our learning very, very easy to try and make, it works throughout the whole of the publications. It works also through our memorization publication. And what it does is that it gives a clear identity to the different mistakes that are made. And it also is very concise in just 6 different mistakes. So there's not too many things to work with. It's just 6 different simple letters to know what types of mistakes have been made. And we found that it's very comprehensive in all the different mistakes that can be made. They can be incorporated in those 6 different sections. So we move on from here, from that haraka section. We've got the fathas, we've got the dhamma, the kasras and the dhamma. And then we move on to this advanced pronunciation practice. So they will learn here each single letter, they will pronounce it properly. So all the correct pronunciations of can be heard clearly. Then what we've done is we've added on a section here, very unique to this qaida, which is, and we found this only in one other qaida, but we worked on it extensively to include all the different similarities. So you've got similar letters, for example, ta, fa, tha, sha, ha, 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 gha, da, va. So the dal and the vad, the ra and the va, the different letters, wherever you found a similarity with 2 different letters, we've incorporated them for good practice. And they will move on to a mixed exercise. Again, most qaidas don't have a mixed section to try and see where they are at the moment. And we've got the double fatha, double kasra, double dhammas appearing here before they move on. Now what's unique about this again is that they have done nothing to do with their stretches so far. We have separated all the stretches into level 6 here. So here's where they will learn the stretches. Before they actually go onto the stretches themselves, we've got this section here that will tell them all the different 6 stretches. So they will learn, and they will have to recall all of this from memory, that when a fatha is followed by a joining alif, for example, ba, or when a kasra is followed by a joining ya, or when a dhamma is followed by a joining waw, and then you've got when a letter has a standing fatha, or it's got a standing kasra and so on, or inverted dhamma. Now this is where they will learn how to stretch. So far there's no stretching. Some qaidas they've mixed in the double fatha or the tanween in between some of these, so it's a bit confusing, but this one separates both of them. So they will have practice on each of the ones. Again, a lot of this has been worked with the different calligraphy styles, and also we've got extra practice that goes with it. And so far they will only have covered the different levels that they've done. So we're working on their, we're working on their pronunciation, on their letter recognition, we're working on the harakas, and we're working on the stretches as well. Once they've completed that, we will have, once they've done the inverted dhamma and so on, we'll have a mixed exercise section before they actually move on to the letters of leen. So they will have letters of leen with the fatha and the waw, joining waw following it, and the fatha and the joining ya following after that. Once that is done, a quick mix exercise, I have a hadith, and they move on to now joining letters, which is section number 7. Here, of course, they will do the two things. They will do sukoon and they will do the shadda. In this, we've got a whole section at the beginning so that the pronunciation is done properly. Ab, ib, ub, at, it, ut, af, if, uth, aj, ij, uj, and so on. They will say all the different letters with the pronunciations clearly so that we can hear them. And then we've put a small extra exercise in this so that they've got something extra to work on within the sukoon. But we've done an extension section on the shadda, because our own report from our teachers is that the kids really need an extra section. By the way, this is not just for kids. A lot of adults are doing this as well with us. We've got an adults course as well. So this can be used for adults as well as children. So here we've got an extended section with shaddas, and we've even included words with double shaddas. As you can see, al-muzammilu or yaddarra'una and so on. And we've got even triple shaddas there. They will then move on to level 8, and level 8 they will do muds. Now here we've simplified it to 2 different muds, and we've got the medium stretch, and we've got the stretch that is a long stretch. So what we mean by that is that wherever there is perhaps a munfasil, it will appear in the medium stretch, and wherever we've got muttasil, and of course we've separated the lazim from the others. If you want to make them do it longer, which they really should do, they can, but we've put them together for now, which is jaiz, which is permissible. They will make them slightly longer than the munfasil that appear, but in the Tajweed book we'll actually make them learn the differences between the two, and they will actually make them longer appropriately. So once they've done the sections on muds, they will then move on to the special cases in level 9. Now the special cases, in most qaidas you will see this, which is to do with the alif that's not to be stretched, a section on that, or the small noon that appears, and the ana that's not supposed to be stretched. But what we've done is we've included another section here, which is the silent letters. There are certain letters, for example, here you find wasbir. You've got an alif there after a waw, and normally the kid would say wasbir. But for them not to stretch this, they need an exercise. In fact, we haven't even found a single qaida that's covered this exercise as a separate exercise. So they need to be told that this is a silent one because there's a joint there. They will ignore the alif that appears after the fatha. Once they've completed the openers of the surahs, and we've included that the sukoon that followed by a shadda, they will then move on to section 10. Now here, there's many important additions that we've made here, because what they will do here is, they will do something unique which most qaidas don't do. Most qaidas will just focus on now random words, random phrases, cover them, just complete them, and to move on to Juz Amma or the Quran. But what we've done here is we've worked on 2 words. So there are 2 words from the Quran appearing, and they will have to do this now with fluency. No longer they are working on singular words, they are now working on double words. And they must do both of them with all the things they've learned, so all the shaddas, the mads, the stretches, the harakas, the pronunciation, the letter recognition, all that has to be done in this. And then they will work on 3-word exercise and fluency. And then we come to a section where they will now learn about the stoppings. Now again, most qaidas don't even have a section on this, and even if they do, it's a very, very sort of brief, or it hasn't been explained properly. So here we explain the stoppings we actually summarize it in certain simple ways. So the double fatha that comes at the end of a word, or you have the ta marbuta at the end, which needs to be changed to a ha, or we have the stop at all other stops, which will be like the arid and so on. And we have a mixed exercise section, And then what we then do is we build them up onto four-word fluency, and we give them then all the different symbols of stopping symbols, and they will then learn how to make the stops on four-word fluency with the stops appearing there. Now they're ready to actually make a stop when they read the Juz' Amma, or they're ready to make it when they read the Quran. Now in level 13, which is the last level, we now work on making them do more than 4 words or an entire line in one breath, and they must do this, all Quranic examples that appear here, and they will have exercises of that until they reach the end. And at the back, what we've got here, we've got certain appendices, and these appendices, they're with different sections of the qaida. So some, these are extra exercises. If somebody wants, has problems by saying, ab, ib, ub, because using an alif can be quite difficult sometimes. So they can just say bab, bib, bub, bat, bit, bud, bath, bith, buj, and so on. We've got sections on the dots only. So if some students has a problem with dots, they can use this, come to this section. These are only if it's necessary. Assorted from heavy to light letters, this section here, which is the huruf musta'liya. If they need to work on that, they can. Further dot recognition letters, and these are complete words practices that we found had different calligraphy styles, but they can actually use extra practices if they want to. We just stuck them at the end, and you've got different sections to do with the heavy and light letters with stretches. This again, if some students have problems, they can come and use this, and you will find a number of other exercises at the back that can be used to linked to appropriate sections of the actual book itself, which if they want to, they may use. So this then completes 13 different levels. After this, what they may do is they may move on to Juz' Amma. We've kept it so that if somebody wants to move straight onto the Tajweed level, they can do. And if somebody wants to do the traditional style of moving to the Juz' Amma before they move on to any Quran, they can do. So after this qaida that has been complete, which is the one that I talked to you about, if they want to come to Juz' Amma, what have we done here? We've made our unique on Juz' Amma, and there's a few features in this that are very unique. One of them is that we've actually printed this in the actual order of the Quran. So what you will normally see is that they will print them from Qul A'udhu Bin Nas, or Surah Fatiha, then Qul A'udhu Bin Nas, Qul A'udhu Bil Falaq, and Qul Hu Allah. Backwards, they will print that all the way to Surah Naba at the end. We've decided against that for a couple of reasons. One is that it's actually against the adab of the Quran to print it backwards. And second is, when they come to the actual salah itself, they find difficulty in knowing the order of the surahs. It's a real big problem, because when they, for surahs, they need to know that Tabbat Yada comes first and Qul Hu Allah comes next. Even when I was young, I had difficulty in rearranging the surahs in my head for the order of salah when it came to learning the salah. So that's one thing that we've done. A second thing we've done is that if you look at the ayats themselves, we've replaced them. We put the numbers at the bottom, but we've replaced them with green circles, in that there is a tick. If you half tick any of these circles, it means that the lesson has been set to that section. If you tick it full, then it means that you have actually passed them with that. You can put the diary at the date at the side. You can use this section as a diary for any notes you want to. Again, the key that I explained in the qaida itself appears at the bottom there, for the S, the P, the H, the J, and so on and so forth. So you can actually mark in this. This hasn't been published in anything that's laminated to make it difficult to mark in. We've produced it so that the markings can be made in this. Again, at the bottom, we've got a whole homework diary that appears just as same as the qaida, so you can use that. And it's a very high scanned part of the Taj Company Quran, the 13 lines of Quran. So it's very, very clear. Most of the ones, the Juz' Ammas that have been written, that we've found, they've been written by individuals in India or somewhere, and it becomes difficult for them to actually grasp it. Now, some teachers might find that this text itself is quite heavy. Suddenly, from the end of the 13th level, they're moving on to this text. Well, no, they need to get used to seeing the Quran in its actual form, and that's why we've kept it like this, to make it, any easier, to make, some have suggested that you start separating the different words here so they know the ending of the words. Well, in our actual experience, most students are fine in reading this, because if they would have done the 13 levels properly, then they wouldn't have any problems doing this. Now, what will they work on this? Well, they will just work on the 13 levels. So the tajweed of having the noon gunnas and having the all the full mouth letters and other things, they wouldn't be actually practiced here if somebody went straight onto the Juz' Amma. Which is why we've kept a system that if somebody wants to come straight onto this book straight after the Qaida, they can do so. And here they will seriously start learning the tajweed. And two things can be done here. Either they will simply practice on the actual example itself. So the examples that appear here, they will just concentrate on the examples here, or they will actually do the Quran with this. So this tajweed book, if we just focus on the actual tajweed book here. So we've got, for example, we've got level 14, we've got level 15, and then we've got level 16 going all the way to level 20. So I'll just take an example here. In level 14, they would have done A'udhu Billah Bismillah, so they will have good practice on that. In level 15, what they will do is they will have practiced on Noon Mushaddada, Meen Mushaddada. So what they will do is they will find an actual, there will be a section here just to focus on the Noon Mushaddada, Meen Mushaddada. So they'll say, the student themselves here, they will do something called Ijra. Now what is Ijra? Ijra is the application of the rule onto the actual piece itself, showing and demonstrating to the teacher that they have learnt this section, they know exactly what's happening here. So here, the student will come to the teacher and they will point out, they will say, Mim Mushaddada full gunna, Noon Mushaddada gunna, or Mim Mushaddada gunna, and so on and so forth. They will say that from the application. Now the application itself is all written there. By saying Mim Mushaddada, Noon Mushaddada, they've got that written there in the beginning of the section, and they will just have to, maybe they've got 5 lines that are set, they will point out to all the Mim Mushaddadas, all the Noon Mushaddadas, and then they will read the section to the teacher. ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا حِسَابَهُمْ. They will read that to the teacher. So the application of the rule first has been pointed out to theoretically, and then practically they will read all the examples to the teacher. You can set different sets of lines, but when they come to, again, before I move on, you can see the hadith there, a different hadith that has appeared. They come now to, for example, level 16. Again, each section has this. There's a section where they will explain the actual what it is. We're doing qalqala here. So that what qalqala is will be explained, the rule will be explained, the examples are given there, a note may be given there, and then the application appears here. So this is the ijra section. What will they have to say? So there's an application 1 and there's an application 2. Why there's 2 different applications is because first they will do application 1. So I'll demonstrate that for you how it's done. And then at a later stage, when they get used to that application, they will switch to application 2 for a shorter version, because it becomes too much to say the application 1. So application 1 here for this section on qalqala is, they will say qaf from qutbu jaddin qalqala. So what happens here is, for example, the teacher now will set maybe 5 lines here. So the student will have to come prepared to the teacher, and they will say, for example, ba from qutbu jaddin qalqala. They will move on and they will say qaf from qutbu jaddin qalqala, ba from qutbu jaddin qalqala, and they'll move on. But what they need to also do is, which is very important, is they need to point out all the noon mushaddadas and mim mushaddadas with this. So for example, here they will say mim mushaddada gunna, then they will say ba from qutbu jaddin qalqala, and they will move on. So they'll say ba from qutbu jaddin qalqala, and here when they get to, for example, here they will say noon mushaddada gunna, and they will have to say ta from Qutb Jaddin qalqala. So all of them that appear from both the different levels they've covered, they will have to point to them, and that will be for the entire section. And don't forget, once they've said the 5 lines of what the nun mushaddadas and mim mushaddadas are and where the qalqala rules are, they will then read it. فَكَانَتْ أَبْوَابًا, and they will make the qalqala rule in application itself. Now, when they move on to the next level, now we've got here 17A. Now 17 has been broken down to different levels because 17 deals with all the different tafkhim letters or the full letters. So here in 17A, they're just dealing with the word of Allah, where it appears, and they will have to say in the application, they'll say Lam of Allah after kasra, empty mouth, or Lam of Allah after fatha or dhamma, full mouth. That's application 1. Later on, when they get used to it, they will just say the shorter version of Lam of Allah, empty mouth, or Lam of Allah, full mouth. Okay? So, here, what happens now is, it's all, and the unique thing about this and the Juz' Amma that I showed you is, it's not color-coded. Why it's not color-coded is because we believe, and it's an absolute truth, anyone who's done Tajweed will know this, you cannot teach students with color-coded Qur'ans because it's a cheat way of learning Tajweed. Once they come to a real Qur'an with black and white writing, they will not be able to apply the rules. So that's very important that they learn with black and white examples. And that's been placed in all our different publications because we believe that that's not the proper way of teaching them because it's not a real learning system. So here they will say, for example, they will have to point to 3 different things. So here they'll say Lam of Allah after kasra, empty mouth. And then move on here, say Noon mushaddada gunna. And then move on to Lam of Allah after kasra, empty mouth. And move on until perhaps they come to something that will have here ta from Qutb Jaddin qalqala. So they will mention all the Noon mushaddadas, all the Mim mushaddadas, all the Lams of Allah, and all the qalqalas for 5 lines, 10 lines, whatever the teacher sets. They will point all of them out, and then they will read each of these lines to the teacher, Alhamdulillah, and applying the actual rule itself. Amanna billah, and making the empty mouth on the Lam of Allah, and also the gunna on the Noon, and for example, Wallahu muhit. So pronouncing the Lam of Allah with the full mouth, and also pronouncing the ta with the qalqala, they will have to do that. Don't forget, in each of these sections, all the 13 levels that have been done in the qaida have to be maintained as they do this. And that's very, very important. 17b, they come to ra mutaharrika. So now they learn the new rule. Again, the rule, the note, the example, the application 1, application 2. And again, as I've said, now they will actually say 4 things. They will have to do the Noon Mushaddad, the Mim Mushaddad, point all of them out as they go along. Anywhere they find qalqala, they will have to point that out. Anywhere they find Lam of Allah, they will have to point it out. And anywhere they find Ra Mutaharrik, they will have to point it out. And as they go along, every time there's a new rule added, they have to point out to all the older ones and this. Now this happens every single day when they're reading to their teacher. They will not do this just random practice. No, they will have to do it for every single day. Now, if they're reading the Quran with this, so for example, if they were to start Surah Baqarah alongside this, what they may do is they may read a page of Surah Baqarah or half page or whatever the teacher sets with the rules they have covered so far. So if they're on 17C and they're on the Quran as well, they will be reading the Quran, and on the Quran page in a black and white Quran, they will point out to all the Noon Mushaddadas, Mim Mushaddadas, all the Qalqalas, all the Lam of Allahs, all the Ra Mutaharrika, all the Ra Sakinas. They will point to them on that page and then read that to the teacher. Again, the way we've designed this is that there will be no examples of ikhfa that will appear here. And in our qaida as well, there are no ikhfas that have appeared inside the entire qaida. And no rules that may be something of a high level until they get to the level itself. So they will move on like this with the full mouth letters. They've got the examples here of the khussa daghatin qiz. They will have exercise on that. Then they will do on the alif that's not to be, the alif that is supposed to be empty. They will then move on to ikhfa shafawi in 18A. In 18B they will move to idgham shafawi. and Izhar Shafawi. Again, all the rules from before have to be pointed out in each of these sections as they move along. It's not an easy book. You might look like a small book here, but it takes a considerable amount of time to master, and the students must master it with a considerable amount of practice and fluency as well. So qalb comes, or iqlab, known as iqlab as well. Idgham without gunna appears, and then they'll have idgham with gunna appear, and then izhar, and then finally after doing ikhfa, they will have mad muttasil in 20A, mad muttasil, and 20B, mad munfasil, and 20C, they will have mad arid, and finally in 20D, they will have mad lazim, and 20E, sorry, mad asli as well, to point out to, and that completes a whole level of tajweed. And after this, we've got another publication coming out after this tajweed book. We've got a second tajweed book which actually will focus on the application of the sifat rules, which goes on to a different level. After this, we also focus on them doing tartil, doing hadar, doing different speeds of reading, and the fluency obviously is built. One thing that we do in Safar Academy, which is very important, and a lot of you might be somewhat shocked and at the same time interested in knowing this, is that for 15 years we've had hundreds of students that have actually graduated from us, but we've never actually had any student cover the entire Quran with the teacher in the lesson. In the lesson itself, we've never had them do that, read the whole Quran. Now you might be shocked at that, and you might think, well, how comes? Why not? Because most parents, their biggest demand is that you want them to, you have to get them to read the Quran. When are they going to finish the Quran with the teacher? Well, what we've explained to all the parents, and it was quite a bit of a struggle at the beginning, but we've explained to all the parents that came to us that, we're going to teach Tajweed. Tajweed is when they focus on the quality and not on the quantity. And we've made the students have two things. One is that they have a sabak or a dars or a lesson with the teacher, so there's something that they will come every day prepared for to read to the teacher. But there's a second section that is to do with tilawa, which is their own recitation. They should do their own tilawa at home. So they have two paths to the Quran. One that moves along with the teacher and one they have at home. We've had almost all students here, when they get to a certain level, to the Tajweed level, they will complete the Quran every year at least once, if not several times. They will complete it at home. We don't have this notion that once the Quran has been completed, give the mitaya out and the student, their learning ends from that time. No. Most of our students in this academy stay till the age of 15, 16. It's unbelievable, but yes, alhamdulillah, most of the students, we've got hundreds and hundreds of students in our academy, and most of them will stay on to that. In fact, some students will stay on with us till 18 years of age, because once they know that tilawa is separate. Now, how do we do it? Well, what we do is that once they're on the Tajweed level and we're confident that they're reading nicely, we will tell them to finish the Quran in a Ramadan. So we'll give them a head start. Maybe a month before Ramadan, we'll tell them to do half a juz at home. And they must complete that whole Quran by the end of Ramadan and come to the new academic year by completing a whole tilawah of the Quran. Alhamdulillah, year in, year out, we have students doing that. Some have completed several Qurans during Ramadan. And so they don't see it as a thing that they must just do to get themselves out of maktab. And alhamdulillah, parents are brought into they're brought into this whole issue. They're with us on this. And what you'll find first is when you explain this to parents, they won't like it. But with the day when your students go to another Maulana, another Shaykh, and they read to him and he gives them a thumbs up and says, whichever teacher is teaching this student, keep them with that teacher, because that teacher is teaching them something fantastic, that I can see all the Tajweed rules being implemented here. He won't be bothered whether the Quran is completed. And let's be honest, if a student does 5 juz with you with good, excellent Tajweed, guaranteed that student can do the rest of the Quran with Tajweed as well. And that should be, an aim that we should have, that the tilawah is separate from the actual reading of the dars. Otherwise, they will just read for the teacher and they will not get their tilawah done. They will just read the Quran once and they'll leave it behind them. So that's one thing unique we've done. You might have a question with how long does it take to finish it. Most teachers have asked me this question. Again, a lot of it has been explained in this publication. Depends on the actual hours itself that they do, and depending on those hours that they do in class, how much practice they have, you will find that we've got a whole table that's been included here. So if they have, for example, 2.5 hours weekly of Tajweed lesson of class time, this is not including the homework time that they will have. It will take between 54 to 88 weeks to complete all the 13 different levels of the 13 levels of the Qaida. This is this book that I talked about earlier. And you've got each one broken down to the different weeks it might take them to do, depending on how much practice they have and how well they do. But if they have 5 hours of Tajweed, then they can complete this whole thing in 28 to 45 weeks, which is literally a year. They can complete this whole Qaida with good proficiency and good fluency and so on. And if they do that, then you may take them onto Juz' Amma. It might take them a few more months to do this, depending on what you have. But if you have only 2.5 weeks of Tajweed, then it might take you up to a year to do that, or maybe over a year to do that. And then you've got the Tajweed book. This, to master it the way I've just explained it, will take about a year, or just maybe under a year, or more than a year to master it with the fluency and all the examples being done properly of this. So what we've actually essentially done is that we've made a system for them to learn Tajweed and keep them busy over a number of years of their academic years in any institution. And again, what you'll find is that we've got, we have questions of how do you actually timetable this. Well, this is not a section for all of that, and I will cover that in a separate section of how to actually teach this and the different levels of what to look out for, what not to look out for. But a very brief thing is that, you should at least give, in any of these lessons that you have, at least give 5 minutes of attention time to each student in any given lesson, so that they've got that time one-to-one with you when they're learning this. And this is part, as I said, of a whole curriculum that is part of the, they will learn, if they learn the Tajweed properly, they will learn how to, say the section of the memorization and read that properly, whatever appears inside there. And also it helps them knowing any du'as, anything that they need to learn for the Islamic studies, which has been covered in a different section. But if you want to find these publications, you want to find the prices to these and so on, and you want to get any further publications and how to get hold of them, then you need to visit www.safaracademy.org. That's SAFAR, safaracademy.org. You will find information about this on there, how to get hold of them, how to purchase them. You can order them online directly through there. And we need your du'as further to move and improve more on these works. Jazakumullah khair. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
الذكر علم ونور الحاملات سنا ونور والرسمات هنا سرور يا حلوة تلك السنين